Okay, let's go ahead and get going here. Again, welcome to the SkySwitch University webinar series. Good morning, this is Jason Jones of SkySwitch. And on behalf of SkySwitch and Metro Wireless, we wish to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. We truly hope that you find today's webinar content on the latest SD-WAN services and technologies from Metro Wireless, both informative and advantageous for your business. Today's presenter is Dominic Serra, and he is the CEO and visionary at Metro Wireless. Many of you might remember Dominic as a panelist on the SD-WAN panel discussion at this year's Vectors Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. He is an industry expert in SD-WAN technologies and best implementation practices for the SMB market. In addition to Dom, we also have as a panelist on today's webinar, SkySwitch marketing specialist Emily Vasquez. Regarding the format of today's webinar, Dominic will present the slide deck in its entirety, then we will conduct a thorough Q&A session at the end of the presentation. In your GoToMeeting control panel, please locate the question widget and type in your questions anytime throughout the webinar. We will address each and every question at the end of the slide deck. Now, I will turn it over to our presenter, Dominic Serra of Metro Wireless. Take it away, Dom.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I appreciate your time, and we will try to make this as informative and expedient as possible. So I'm going to get started right away. Everybody should be able to see our screen here. Here we go. So this deck is about our SD-WAN, which we refer to here as Metro WAN. And we're going to go through a couple slides. I have a little agenda here. Quickly, we're going to look at what is SD-WAN, and then Metro WAN key features, technical advantages. We'll look at a couple basic deployment architectures that are commonly used. We're going to look at the advantages over competition, and then as well as the SkySwitch cooperation and reseller special offers that we have, and then we're going to jump into a Q&A session. So what is SD-WAN? One of the things about SD-WAN is that it is kind of the Wild West, and there's a lot of different definitions of what SD-WAN actually is and how it can be used. In general, we like to think that it improves the overall performance of the business network, the WAN networking, the internet service, saves cost, it makes it quicker, less subject to be throttled down by different streams of data. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. That's one of the big things about it. Depending on how it's utilized, there's obviously many different ways that it can be implemented, and we're going to look at a few of those. And then, one of the biggest advantages of the technology, it can seamlessly integrate multiple internet connections into a smoother, faster connection with less downtime. So a lot of the times what we've seen being an internet provider is that customers may have more than one or not properly integrated. Therefore, when a failure actually occurs, there's a lot of scrambling going around, and there's a lot of manual reconfiguration to restore VPN access, to restore VoIP service, that type of thing. And we can streamline a lot of that with the SD-WAN product. Also, one of the things that we've really started to focus on more, and this really does pertain to SkySwitch, our voice partner, is that we've really started to work on more voice prioritization out of the box for you guys. And this is in direct response to some of the information that we've learned from working with the SkySwitch community, going to the events, is that this was one of the challenges for the company. So we've made some changes to how we operate in order to better accommodate voice providers, especially SkySwitch voice providers. So what's really cool about the technology, and we'll get into it in the next slide, is that now with any order of Metro WAN or Metro LTE, we are now prioritizing all voice end-to-end out of the box with no special costs, no extra charges, nothing. It just comes like that out of the box. And I just include a little slide here, just kind of showing a very general overview of how SD-WAN operates. So we're going to look at some of the key features here of our platform, and starting with the standard features that we include with every single service. We include static IP addresses in IPv4 and IPv6 upon request, so that essentially we assign a new internet block to each customer so that they can take full advantage of the service. We provide failover and bonding services routed to static IPs or NAT. So we do provide network address translation, aka private IPs, if you're looking for a more out-of-the-box configuration and you don't want to drop your own router, we can provide that service. We provide active-active architecture for multiple connections, meaning that essentially we can integrate more than one connection in every device. Our entry-level devices start with 2 WANs, and then we go all the way up to 6, and we're looking to expand to 8 in the future with other programs. We have an SLA on this product, a 99.9949 SLA for WAN service for our network availability. We include end-to-end voice, VoIP voice, and SIP quality of service. We are able to prioritize most common protocols that you'll find in over 90% of VoIP applications. Now, one of the things that really, and we've discussed this before, if any of you have been on our prior conferences, that we have the ability with this platform to, regardless of the path, we can continue the voice calls, and we'll get into that a little bit later on how that actually functions. Also with this platform, we include a cloud-based web graphical user interface, so that you can look at your accounts, you can see what's going on with them, how much traffic is passing. Lots of useful information is included with this. So each one of your end devices will have this, and that goes for the Metro WAN or the Metro LTE platform. We find that this product increases performance for latency sensitive and real-time and interactive services. So things such as voice over IP, web conferencing, remote desktop, anything that's latency sensitive for best helps, especially when you're getting into a multi-WAN configuration, to alleviate a lot of the concerns that customers have. And then, so we've got a couple other here: ISP and local loop issues greatly reduced, and email outage alerts to notify your contacts when a WAN issue occurs. So with the platform out of the box, we do include email alerts as well, in addition to the graphical user interface, so that you know exactly when you lose one of your edge device circuits, your internet connections at a customer. You'll know when it's happening, and you can notify the customer, or you can just pass that through and alert them directly. And then we have a long list of optional features with the platform too. We're not going to go into every one of these, but there's quite a few things we can do. We are looking at this point, starting to offer some basic security and firewall features, and we can discuss that offline if anybody's interested. DDoS protection, VPN tunneling, and some other things that we're just now starting to add. So we're very excited to be bringing those products online, to bring those options, and we'll be able to talk to you about those if you have any questions after. And then we have a couple pictures of our devices here just for you to look at. We just added the 2000 platform, which is really interesting. It actually has the ability to utilize and bond up to 18 modems, 18 LTE modems for backup or primary use. So it's a very interesting platform. So technical advantages, one of the big things about this platform and our SD-WAN is that we can do packet-by-packet monitoring on each data path to ensure smooth and reliable traffic for all applications. So that's really one of the mainstay features of SD-WAN, is that it gives you a better way to use the available bandwidth that you have. And we kind of diagram here to represent how the green paths represent the data transferring between hops, and the yellows are higher latency hops, and then you have reds shown as packet loss. So it gives you an ability to take more than one connection and constantly look for each packet, and that's very helpful if we're doing voice. We can combine and use multiple internet connections to make high availability connections that support mission critical business applications easily. And this allows cloud computing, latency sensitive applications, VoIP, video conferencing, VDI to thrive. That's really what we see as one of the main benefits of the platform. So we're just going to look at two basic deployment architectures. There's obviously a virtually unlimited amount of ways that this could be deployed, but just for the sake of brevity here, and we're just going to look at a couple. So basically, one of the simplest ways this can be deployed is just to essentially prioritize voice, and you can use it in a single WAN connection. So meaning that the customer has an existing connection, say it could be Comcast, it could be a cable provider. You can take this device, put it in the middle, include it with your voice services that you provide, and use it for prioritization. The ability to go into the web portal to look at traffic, just the reporting features, and so on and so forth. That is available to do, and it's something that we're finding we are getting some uptake on that. And as you see here, we provide a static IP block to the firewall router, and then we have the capability to assign NAT directly to the LAN, depending on the configuration. So what's nice about buying or implementing the service like this is that you can down the road decide you need to add another WAN. If you, for example, you have another circuit coming in, you want to get this installed, and then you can bring another circuit in, and the implementation of the second circuit is virtually seamless. So it can be used in that fashion. This allows us to prioritize voice and provide a better overall user experience for internet connections. So another way we can operate the service is with multiple internet connections. And when we say multiple, we could be using two wireline providers. We could be using two wireline providers and a third wireless provider. We have many different ways to configure the service. It can be used with services that are existing for the customer. We can also allocate fiber to the two premises. We can use our LTE platform. So being an ISP, we have a lot of different options there that we can provide you with if you're looking for a full turnkey solution, or you're just looking for just the SD-WAN service. We can accommodate just about any configuration. Now, when you get into the multiple connections like this, you start to be able to take advantage of some of the more advanced features, like we talked about, the packet-by-packet data, the ability to do bonding, where you can actually use speeds from both circuits at the same time to have a faster overall connection. So it gets a little bit more exciting when you implement multiple connections. All connections run concurrently and bond up to 6 WAN links with optional features. So then we just have a couple brief advantages over the competition here. We have a great pricing structure, and being that we have a special relationship with SkySwitch, we came out with some hopefully what you'll find to be intriguing pricing options for resellers, where they can make some good margins. We have very feature-rich standard packages. We don't do a lot of a la carte features right now that aren't mainstream features that everybody wants. So it's very out of the box. You're getting quite a bit. It's a fully carrier-built and supported solution. We have a hardened BGP core behind it for high availability, running out of multiple sites. So it's we do all that for you behind the scenes. Fully redundant architecture. We've got multiple controllers running in multiple geographic areas, so it's a very smooth transition. If there is an outage somewhere, we can quickly reroute traffic with virtually no downtime. We have a US-based support staff with a 24-hour knock. One of the big things I think is important to tell everybody is that we've actually been on this platform now for over 3 years. So there is a lot of solutions out on the market. This is obviously becoming a crowded space. We've got a hardened platform here in a new market product. So I think that that's important when you're looking at some of these new products that come out of the gate, is that this is something that's been tried and true, especially with SkySwitch resellers and with voice services. It's great for small or large scale deployments. So anything from, as you saw, we've got devices that start at 50 megabit of SD-WAN all the way up to 2 gigs. So there's quite a few different price points and options, and it can be used in one location. It can be used at 100 locations. Scale is very good. We have got solutions that range from SMB type applications all the way up to enterprise, and we can support up to 2,000 megabyte with the total WAN capacity on our high-end platform. So then this is a quick slide about the Metro Wireless and SkySwitch cooperation. So we have a program, actually right now we've got special pricing that's just for SkySwitch at this time. I'm going to go through that real quick. You may have seen the email blast that went out recently. We're going to go through that. We've got about 150 sites, 150 different end user locations where this is already deployed. So we've got a record with a lot of current accounts. We've already kind of perfected it. It's pretty tight right now. We've got extensive testing for interoperability with the SkySwitch platform. Priority support for all resellers, so we take care of you quickly. If there's a problem, we're right on it. We've got a great. We also had actually this was from our last deck, but we are offering we have special demo pricing if you'd like to try a device out without a long-term commitment. We do have a special program where we're offering a Metro WAN device with LTE backup for I think it's $175 a month, and it's a 2-month commit. So very inexpensive way to get one of these in your hands quickly. And then, of course, as we mentioned before, VoIP and SIP priority by default with all services. So out of the box, the first time you plug it in, it's going to be prioritizing your VoIP. So this is not the entire, obviously there's probably a couple hundred different prices for this product because there's different terms and such, but these are a couple of the mainstays that we wanted to just get out to everybody. We've got at the top there, $249 a month for 100 megabit service with a 60 GB of LTE backup. That's a total out the door package price. And then we've got some other plans here. And then recently we came out with a completely revised pricing on our 100 meg, which is just a standalone. It does not have, so if you're ordering it for one location, if you're ordering it for a single circuit, if you're ordering it for 2 circuits at the location, you can go with the 50 or the 100 meg, and you can just bring your own data, bring your own bandwidth to it. And so we've been told that this pricing is very competitive and that should allow a considerable margin to be added onto that and resold to your customers. So that is the conclusion of our slide deck at this time. Where's our logo? There it is. And like I said, we wanted to kind of keep it short today. You guys get bombarded with a lot of this stuff, and we wanted to kind of open it up and see if there was anybody that had questions, any discussion like that we could perhaps talk to you guys and help you get pointed in the right direction.
Okay. So I think, thank you, Dom. That was very, very informative. And I'm currently looking at the questions panel. I don't see much in the questions right now. So if you have any questions out there, please type them in. Oh, we have some popping in right now. So we're going to get to those real quick. But I had one initially too, Dom. I know that, we consider this kind of a backup service too, and then it has an SD-WAN technology. But do you have customers out there deploying your services as a primary internet connection for maybe rural areas that have spotty internet, or an ISP that just doesn't have good internet there? Is this a good use case for you also?
This platform is very similar. It's actually the same platform that we run our Metro LTE service on, which is a ISP service, and we are seeing that being used in certain applications as a primary. We do have an unlimited plan that we can sell without Metro LTE. So essentially, we're seeing people use that. We're seeing people use our 60, 100, 120 GB at smaller satellite locations. So yes, it's a great solution. If there's nothing else available, we are seeing a good uptake, and we've got certain companies that their fleet deployments, and so they're putting these in their vehicles, and they're running around the country and doing that. So yeah, if you run into one of those, as a matter of fact, off the top of my head, I can think of 4 or 5 SkySwitch resellers that have bought an LTE device because they ran into a strange little place somewhere. It could even be in the middle of a city where they just couldn't get anything for whatever reason. So we certainly do see that from time to time.
Perfect. Can you go back to the pricing slide with your uncle? That's a picture there. And
Yeah.
because we have some questions about pricing, so I think it'd be kind of good for you to kind of arrow about that. So maybe you could back that up. But one of the questions that we have coming in from Colin in California is what is the suggested sale price on these packages? This is obviously you've got the SkySwitch reseller special pricing here, but
yes,
what would be your suggested retail on this pricing?
That's a good question. Well, I think that it's a little bit harder for us to figure out the retail on the LTE slightly right now. I'd have to just pull up one other thing here. But like the 100 meg SD-WAN that we're showing for $99, we think that you could probably double that and you would be okay in a lot of scenarios. With the 60 GB LTE backup, I would say between, that's a little bit different because, the data plan is, it's not a very high margin plan for us. So I would say that one, you'd probably be $300 to $350. So I would say anywhere from, depending on the product, it could be anywhere from 100% to 30%. It kind of varies based on the product, but the WAN, we're seeing that in the marketplace go for double what we're charging the resellers. So I think that's probably a good one to if you've got multiple locations and you're looking at other options. That one I think you'd probably have a lot of success with. The LTE platforms are a little bit lower margin for us, and obviously that passes through. So we may not it might be a little bit less percentage wise on those, but the standalone SD-WAN, we really want to enable everybody to go out and do volume with it. So that's why we priced it like that.
Okay, great. We had another question here from Van. Do you offer LTE only plans for the rural areas with only cell service? I think we kind of answered that already, but go ahead.
We do, yes. Yeah, so we do offer those plans. That's a separate sheet that I don't have here today, but there is, basically, if you just look at like the 30 and the 60, that essentially is LTE only because you're getting the SD-WAN. It's the way that this product was designed. We had the SD-WAN built into it from the get-go. So essentially, if you order this, you don't have to use the SD-WAN. You can reverse the architecture and just plug it into your firewall and not do the SD-WAN on it. So it would just be the LTE running on the modem device. And then if you ever decided to bring another circuit in, you could utilize it. But basically what you'd be looking at is one of these plans, and then we have plans that go higher than that as well.
Okay, great. Just another add-on question to that too. On these plans, do you actually have an unlimited plan?
We do have an unlimited plan. I don't have the pricing published on this deck, but it is a plan that we have. We don't have an unlimited quantity of those, so we tend to have a few in stock at any given time. And they're kind of they're a little bit more expensive, so they might not be in everybody's price point. But when you need one, give us a call because it is a great solution. We've got here locally, I can tell you, like we've got our our local power company buys them from us. They're an in-demand item for the right customer. We'd sell quite a few. So yeah, it could be very useful.
Okay, here's an interesting kind of a rural question here too. You said, is there a cost for a site survey in rural areas? So I think as far as a site survey, maybe he's talking more to what is there a prerequisite that you would suggest that, hey, in order to put service into this rural area, these are the requirements that you would need to have?
Right, that's a great question. Well, site surveys are a little bit tricky because we can look at the coverage, we can estimate what we think it will be. There is some concerns about the building structure. So sometimes we run into scenarios where there's really high signal levels, but we get poor signal to noise ratios, and that's usually caused by interference. It could be a carrier, or it can be an environmental problem. For example, if you have a metal structure, exterior structure, and then the building is built in a fashion where the IT closet happens to be in the center, and you've got brick walls in between and things, you might see a problem there. So that's kind of where we get into some of our, if we're talking about LTE, that's where we get into an issue with that. Now, with the SD-WAN, if we're just talking about wireline services and implementing this in a wireline scenario, then that really doesn't play as much of a factor. But if we're talking about LTE, specifically wireless with the SD-WAN, then yes. And so what we do, we actually do a desktop survey here. If you send us an address and you want us to pre-qualify it, we'll look at it. We'll make sure that it's in an area that is good for us. And then if we a lot of people have heard this before, but we do amount of external antennas and so on and so forth. We can ship out with the product and make sure that you have good service, even if you don't have good service in the building. A lot of times, even when people have bad cell coverage inside of a building, we can still get 20, 30, 40 meg with our external antenna.
Okay, thank you. Got a question from Chuck over in Savannah, Georgia. We have, if we have a high availability client that currently has fiber and broadband, does it make sense to bring in the LTE as a tertiary solution, or does your system handle 3 paths with SD-WAN?
We certainly do handle 3 paths with some of our larger products. I think I alluded to that a little bit earlier, that there's a lot of customers that we come across where they have 2 circuits, they have a firewall, and they're implementing this because having a firewall that can switch routes is good, but it's really not a smooth transition. What's happening every time you go between one circuit to the other is you're changing the route, meaning that you're going to lose all your video sessions, you're going to lose all your voice sessions. It's going to be, VPNs are going to disconnect, and then they're going to need to be rerouted to another VPN. So this having a single IP block that can use more than one internet connection is a huge advantage because it streamlines the configuration, makes your configuration easier. If you're providing security, you're providing those types of services, LAN services, streamlines your whole design. Because now you're not building all these different rules in your firewall for what if this happens, if that happens. I've seen too many times, and I'm sure a lot of you have, where you've got the 2 circuits now, you've got that implemented, and then you get into an actual failure scenario, and it's like biting your nails, because there's so many things that have to change. You're doing DNS changes and stuff. So SD-WAN, you can take what you already have and you can make it easier to use. So I would say that it would be a great solution. And on top of that, if you have a scenario like, let's say you've got 2 providers coming in the building and you just found out that when you hit the phone pole, it knocked them both out. Well, then, do SD-WAN and add a small LTE, and there's your third. So a lot of cool ways you can deploy it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Got a question again from Colin over in California. Are all the features included, or is there any add-on features? So I guess are all the features included in this pricing that you're showing right now?
Everything we talked about. Yeah, I'll go back for a second here. We did have a slide on that on the standard, and let me see here. And I'm sure, Jason, you're going to want to, we normally after these we would share them with everybody if they want to look through our, I'm happy to let them do that. Let me just go back here. So, and we are making some changes here right now with the features. So standard features are right here at the top, and then optional features below. So everything that we talked about so far, in the course of the questions, those are all standard features. And then, the kind of stuff that's optional, the speeds, the actual speed that you can put through the SD-WAN device, that's where, that comes into different pricing models. You've got, the amount of WANs you can use. If you want special services like point-to-point services between multiple locations or an MPLS network, if you want a hot or cold standby, meaning that if you'd like a spare device at each location that can be plugged in if there's a failure on one device, that type of thing. If you'd like prioritization on remote desktop or VPN, other services other than VoIP, firewall, anything with security. We're just starting to look at rolling out security to some of our wholesalers right now. We're doing kind of like some case-by-case trials, and we've got a customer that recently had us connect devices to Azure, and we've got another request for, I believe, an Amazon scenario. So we're able to do those things as well with the platform. We're starting to expand into it and offer trials of that, as well as DDoS protection, IPsec, which is the same thing for tunneling, as I just mentioned with Azure, and then content blocking, firewall type stuff, and forwarding and port forwarding on NAT. So we're starting to get it. We're starting to go a little bit more into that stuff on a case-by-case basis. We're not rolling it out across the board, but if you have a specific application that you want to talk about, we're happy to discuss it with you and do free trials on it and see if it works for you. And if it does, then we could offer it. So very flexible platform.
Got another question, and this is a follow-up from Chuck here. He says this may be more complicated than can be dealt with here, but they are WatchGuard partners. And they have come out with their own SD-WAN configuration, and there's a ton of solutions out there. But can you address how Metro might be a better solution for SkySwitch partners than the WatchGuard solution? Are you familiar with WatchGuard, Tom?
I wouldn't say I'm familiar with WatchGuard as a security appliance.
As an SD-WAN, as an SD-WAN solution.
Well, a lot of times, what we're finding is that a lot of the people we work with, since we work with a lot of voice partners and smaller businesses that resell, is that we'll do the SD-WAN portion, and then they'll have another company that will come in like a WatchGuard or a FortiGate or one of these other security appliances, and they'll do the security and possibly even the NAT on that device. A lot of our implementations are like that right now. So I think they, and obviously, in the past we did Simple WAN, and so, I think that can work very well. And sometimes it's good to kind of split up some of the duties between, this is more like an ISP service, and then you've got like the WatchGuard device doing more of security. I think there's a lot that can be said for that. I don't think that this device can necessarily take the place of a WatchGuard completely yet. We're just starting to look at security and things like this. So I think implementing it with the SD-WAN portion, and then having the the tried and true security appliance on top of that is a very strong solution. So like I said earlier in the slide deck, since SD-WAN is such a wild west and there's no standard set around it, a lot of companies are claiming that they're doing true SD-WAN, and you do need to kind of gauge each one of those claims and make sure that it's really what you're looking for, because not everything that says SD-WAN is truly SD-WAN, and we found that out. I think everybody's learned that once or twice along the way. So, we have a pretty hardened platform here. It's got there is a lot of nuances about doing it. So I would just say make sure it's a vetted solution if you're going to run any platform like that.
Okay, sounds good. Another question here on simple 50 megabit at $79 for SD-WAN. Is there an added cost for the equipment, or is that included in the $79 per month?
The equipment is included. It's a service. If it breaks, we send you a new one. There's no no harder. That is a term-based price, so that's based on a 36-month agreement. But yeah, it's completely no hardware cost.
Perfect. That's good news. That's a good price. Another question. I see this pricing is only good until 12/2018. What is the price after 12/2018?
That's a great question. So we haven't determined that yet. What we're going to do, we're in the middle of restructuring and coming out with some new products here. So the pricing that you guys have now, if you currently have our SD-WAN pricing from last year or from earlier this year, it's going to change, and we're going to be adding some new products. So it probably will. It's possible that it could bump up a little bit. I don't think it'll be substantial, but we're kind of we're hoping to see some uptake here, and if it does, if it takes off, then we may, or I'm not. I can't give a clear answer on that yet, but we want to work with you guys. We really want to, we going to the show, talking with a lot of the resellers. We learned a lot, and hopefully this is a good response to that. So we'll work with you on an individual case by case basis here, and obviously if we're talking about volume, then that could be a totally different discussion. This is the pricing here is kind of more based on one or two locations. So if we're talking about 10, 20, 50, 100 locations, then we can definitely work from there.
Okay, thanks, Dom. There is another question that just popped in here. Is there a cost for the installation of the antennas and equipment?
Well, you've got a couple different options there. So we can ship you a kit. We just recently priced out. We've got a whole a la carte menu of hardware that you can buy if you want to do your own do-it-yourself installs, which we do 100% free phone support on. If you would like to have us come out and actually do your antenna installs, we do that nationwide, and we can provide you with pricing on that as well. And just that would be a little more ICB since it's slightly more custom, but we will come out and install any installation.
Okay, good news. I think we're down to one last question, but it's really more of a statement. Gentleman is saying that he's trying to wrap his head around how to market this and sell against the likes of a Spectrum or WOW service.
Okay. Well, to my knowledge, neither of those companies have SD-WAN yet.
Okay.
If we're just talking about that, if we're talking about LTE versus cable, I don't think that's really I don't think that the LTE product is specifically a great replacement for cable modem yet. But I know that Spectrum. I was recently at a seminar with Spectrum, and I know they don't have anything now, and I know that WOW doesn't. So for those two providers specifically, we actually, to be honest with you, we get a lot of SD-WAN over those because Comcast does have an SD-WAN platform, although I'm not really up to speed on it reviews, but I don't believe those Spectrum or WOW currently offer this yet.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Well, that's going to be it for the questions right now. I think the next question that I would have, how do SkySwitch resellers get started with you? How would they go about ordering this and getting started and deploying this service with you?
Sure. Yeah, so we actually, that was the last slide. I don't think I even got to. So we did, yeah. So yeah, you and I know what we did. Yeah, so we set up just like we did for LTE, which has worked out really well. We set up an online order form for this. So if you want to go and get one, what's kind of cool is this doesn't actually obligate you. What it does is it just sends the information to us, and then we respond with a contract that you can choose to execute or not. So if you have a site that you'd like to try, you can go in there, pop in your info, hit send, and then we'll respond. Our sales department will respond back with an agreement. With companies that we work with on a larger scale basis, what we're doing is we actually will get with you and do an MSA, Master Service Agreement, and that just speeds the process up. So when you put these orders in, then that'll place the orders on your behalf with your permission. So that instead of having an individual contract go out for each one of these, if you're a reseller and you're just like, hey, I want to buy 5, you don't have to go through the whole process of signing paperwork, and you do it once at the beginning, and then all the terms of your orders stay in our system. So it's just a little bit faster way to work with us. But if you just want to get started quickly and just try one out, we can just send you an agreement and you can execute it. And that works through this job form here.
Perfect. And I just want to let everybody know too, we will send a follow-up email with this link to this form. That way you'll have that. So we'll send it out to all the attendees. And we'll also be we're recording this session too. So we'll send a recording of this session too. You'll have a link to that and you can play that back. But for now, that is all we have for today. Dom, I want to thank you for a very informative presentation this morning. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. And we look forward to having you on another SkySwitch University webinar in the future. We have some things coming up in December, and we look forward to having you on the webinar series again. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I included my contact info here, and if anybody wants to reach out or ask a few more questions, have a little one-on-one, we're open for that. So thank you so much for everybody for your time.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.